And then when you're out of high school, it's like, oh, like, you know, if I don't like get a job and pay my rent, I'm gonna be like homeless and probably die in like a month. Yeah. So the risks of existence are much higher.
Hi everyone, so this week's video is a live video essay panel that I did with Haryana Hook at Momocon 2023 a few weeks ago. It's called The Death of Josei, and we talk about the genre of Josei, which is manga and anime directed at adult women. We do about a 20-minute presentation on this, and then we have about a 20 to 30 minute discussion with the audience about misogyny, media consumption, and why people do not consume media for and about adult women, especially animated media, as much as they do the other genres. It is not a typical video essay format, but we worked hard on this, and I thought it turned out pretty nicely for my first time paneling, so I wanted to share it with you guys. Next week, I will be back in full force with a video essay on As Told by Ginger, and after that, I have 8 more video essays planned for this summer. We'll see how far I get, but I'm getting back in the swing of things, and I'm really excited to be making content for you guys again. I am also going to be doing gaming streams and karaoke streams on a weekly basis, so I'm looking into potentially just publishing a schedule for the week for my channel in my community tab. Either way, I'm back, and I'm so excited to make content for you again and talk to you guys, and I really missed it. So, okay. Hope you enjoy The Death of Josei.
All right, we'll do it again. Hey everybody, thanks so much for coming out to our panel today called The Death of Josei. First, we're going to go ahead and introduce ourselves. Then we're going to have a little history lesson, talk about some Josei, and then we'll have a Q&A segment at the end. So, first of all, who are we?
Hi, I'm Haryana Hook, or you can just call me Harry for short, or the captain. I'm fine with those. I'm a YouTuber and a video essayist. I'm a Descendants enthusiast first, but like also a social media enthusiast second. I often just talk about things relating to nostalgia and family and children's entertainment and all the issues that are within those spaces. I also am a cosplayer, and I'm also an overall entrepreneur. I do a lot of things, so yay.
Yay. I love Harry. Yay.
I'm also a pirate, if you guys didn't know that.
You are. Hey, I'm offbeat Kiki. I use they, them pronouns. I'm a YouTuber and video essayist, and my content typically focuses on content that I find nostalgic and what it feels like to go and reconsume that content as an adult with the lens of nostalgia gone, and just see what holds up, what doesn't, and try to find a life lesson about, you know, growing up in adulthood and trauma and all that stuff somewhere in there. So you might call me a nostalgia psychoanalyst. I'm also a visual and musical artist of many mediums and a professional designer.
So what?
Yay! Yeah.
So what exactly is Josei? Josei is the manga and anime market to audience of adult women. It's the demographic for adult women ages 18 and up. So also known as ladies comics or
Ready Commie.
And usually what you will be able to find within the Josei demographic would be drama, romance, and just adult things. Themes, not things. Well, things too, but they're usually melodramatic or realistic stories of ordinary lives of just adults. But the term also originated in the 90s to distinguish it from shoujo, because it's not the same. As much as people try to be like, it's the same, it's not. It's not.
Shoujo being the genre for
little girls. Yeah.
Hey. Cool. So, shoujo predated Josei and was primarily targeted at like children and young girls, as we just said. But there was a shift in the 1950s with an emergence of what's called gekiga, aka dramatic pictures, which would tell serious stories aimed at adults. So as that happened, magazines devoted to more adult content began to emerge around 1980, such as Be Love by Kodansha and You by Shueisha, and the genre became known as ladies comics or Ready Commie. And then Teens Love, yikes, magazines emerged in the early 1990s, following cues from Ready Commie. Then they focused on sexual content and created competition for the genre. And we can't go into that too much because this is a family-friendly panel and convention, but they kind of focused on explicit content a bit, and the genre stayed there for a while before it began to progress into actual like stories, you know, where you're not just watching it for the plot. You're like, actually, there's a plot there. So those Ready Call Me magazines responded by featuring stories that focused on social issues, which made everyone kind of think they were more legitimate in the public eye in around the end of the 1990s. And then following this shift, the term Josei was coined, specifically by academics to kind of distinguish these more adult, evolved stories from shoujo. And in the 2000s and early 2010s, the genre started to rise in anime. So now we're going to talk about some well-known Josei. In the romance genre, there's Paradise Kiss.
Yeah, Paradise Kiss by Aizawa. It focuses on like the fashion world, and the main focus of the story is on a girl named Yukari, where she is 17 going on 18, and she doesn't necessarily know what she wants to do with her life. And then one day she gets kidnapped, because that's what happened. I'm tired of people trying to act like that was cute. It wasn't. He kidnapped her. He kidnapped her, and he was like, "Oh, you took some more."
Pardon me. Is this he taken? Thank you.
We can go more into it in a sec, because we got a slide for Paradise Kiss. Alright, so yeah, Paradise Kiss, Nana, Chihaya Furusa, which is one I don't know a ton about, and Ina the East. I know that one is like a card game based one though, but I just didn't have a lot of time to watch it. Yeah.
There's like one that a lot of people don't even realize is Josei that's pretty popular. It's a Gretzko song.
Yeah, I'm not watching that.
Cool, yeah, so there's some examples of some romance Josei, and then there's also like some friendship Josei where the romance might be an element but it's not as prominent, like Princess Jellyfish, Usagi Drop, Life Lessons with Uramichi Onisan, which could arguably also be a seinen, but I think the sense of humor kind of leans Josei a little bit.
Men are too attractive for it to be seinen.
And Carnival as well. Yeah, they're not a toxic masculinity enough for it to be seinen. Cool, so we're talking about Paradise Kiss now.
Y'all ready to get into some mess?
Yes.
The thing about me is that I have like a list of things, like you in the mood for some mess, here it is. Paradise Kiss is one of them.
Yeah.
Paradise Kiss is created by Aizawa. It's actually a sequel to her first story that came before it. It's not her first, but the story that came before it is called Neighborhood Story. And basically, it's a continuation of that, where the main character in Neighborhood Story, her name is Mikako. She is now like in her 30s, and she's grown. She has her own brand or whatever. And the story focuses on her sister and her friends, and her main friend, which is Yukari. It was originally a manga that was serialized into a Japanese fashion magazine called Zipper from 1993 to 2003. 1999 to 2003. And it was adapted in a 12-episode anime series by Aniplex and Studio Madhouse, and it aired in 2005. You can watch it on bootleg on YouTube. For some reason, it hasn't been taken down yet. So. And basically, like I said, it follows Yukari as she questions her lifestyle while interacting with a group of eccentric students running a fashion label. Mainly, Yukari is a girl, 17 years old. She doesn't necessarily know what she wants to do with her life. She mainly is just kind of like doing what her parents want her to do. But after George kidnaps her and shows her like the fashion world and everything, she's like, oh, I want a model. I like this. This is fun. And she goes on a journey of self-discovery, realizing what she doesn't want to be. And then also the story focusing on her other friends within the story too, which are Milwaukee. Baby girl was going through it. Girl failure, sadly, apparently, because what happened to her. We got to see a little bit more about George, who is a bisexual guy, so that was interesting to see, even though he was not written well. But and then there was also a trans girl in the story named Isabella, and I have spoken about how I felt about how this story portrayed her there. But this was like one of the first like mangas I've seen that did have like a trans girl in it, and she was very pretty. I really liked her. But we'll talk about it later, because there's just some things that story did with her that needed work.
Also created by Aizawa is Nana, which was originally a manga serialized in the Japanese shoujo magazine Kiki from 2009. So as you can see, even some josei are still being serialized in other types of magazines because trying to narrow down and provide a space for the genre continues to be kind of difficult. And we'll get into why that might be a thing later in the presentation. But it was adapted into a 47-episode anime series by Madhouse and aired from 2006 to 2007. I believe it's all on Hulu now if you're interested in watching it. It's a very good series, one of my favorite anime ever. And it follows two different 20-year-old women who are both named Nana. They bump into each other on the train as they both move to Tokyo to start a new life there for different reasons. And they end up both trying to rent the same apartment, so then they decide to live together. And I think it's unique from some of the other examples we're going to talk about because there isn't like one specific theme or plot through line that they're like chasing throughout the entire show. It's really more of like a slice of life following them as they just experience adulthood and independence, maybe for the first time. One of the Nanas is in a band. The other one is mostly caught up in like romantic pursuits. Yeah, she's a total girl failure.
Good one.
Yeah, but it's a great series.
And both of these are created by Aizawa. If you're really interested in fashion, you most likely would like want to check it out. Really
Yeah,
pretty.
she was a Vivienne Westwood enthusiast. Okay, next up we have Eden of the East, which is created by Kenji Kamiyama, and it does center around what I think are recent college graduates. So they're like on the younger end of the Josei spectrum, but I included it because the themes in Eden of the East are much more mature than what you typically see from characters that look like this. So it's an anime series by Production IG. It aired in 2009, and then because of the success of the series, there were 3 films following the series that aired the following 2 years. And it follows recent graduate Saki Morimi, and she is kind of just walking around on like a personal trip after graduating, I think, college. And she runs into a naked amnesiac named Akira Takizawa, and he doesn't remember anything about where he is or why he's naked, and he's like in front of a government building. And it turns out that all of this is happening because they're both kind of entangled in this web of terrorism, conspiracy, hackers, billions of dollars in danger, and also catching feelings. It's one of the best anime I've ever seen. And I remember watching it as a teenager and being kind of shocked because all the anime I had seen was more on like the comedic side or just like, you know, kind of fluffy romance stuff. But these characters get into like some real adult experiences, and they have like a deeper relationship than what is typically portrayed in anime. So, yeah.
Oh, this story.
Yeah, next up is Princess Jellyfish,
Yeah.
created by Akiko Higashimura,
Check it out.
which was originally a manga serialized in an actual Josei magazine called Kiss for 9 years. I didn't know until we started working on this panel that it ended in 2017. There's an anime adaptation that was only 11 episodes that aired in 2011 by Studio Brainspace. So in Princess Jellyfish, the main cast, it's a little bit more of like an ensemble show, not really a romance series, follows a group of people that live in like a no men allowed apartment building. They're all otaku women, and they all are like mangakas. Yeah, they're kind of needs too. And it includes a jellyfish enthusiast named Tsukimi, and she gets a new roommate, and I'm never like sure what pronouns to use for this individual, but her cross-dressing roommate Kuranosuke, who to me felt like one of the first experiences of like seeing like a trans person in anime, but then it's like not really concrete whether or not this person, you know, what their gender identity really is, if they're just cross-dressing in order to piss off their dad because their dad is a politician and cross-dressing keeps them from having a reputation that allows them to get forced into politics, or you know, whether they were really going for like a gender identity thing there. It's never been clear.
I couldn't tell, to be honest. Like, I tried to pick up Princess Jellyfish. Imagine, like, not every Josei is going to be for you, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Is it okay for me to say?
Yeah.
Sometimes the friend group in here can get really irritating. So, like, but I really do, my favorite aspect of Princess Jellyfish is the dynamic between her and that person.
Me too. Yeah.
That's like the highlight of the story. So you can get past the annoying friends. It's a good ride.
Okay.
Yay!
A serve right here. We have Michiko and Hashi, created by Sayo Yamamoto. It's an anime series. It unfortunately was not like adapted from a manga. It went straight to just being an anime, and it was created by Studio Mangalo and aired from 2008 to 2009. And it follows a woman by the name of Michiko Melandro, black woman.
Yeah.
We love that. And her former lover's daughter, Hachin, on the run from the police as Hachin's abusive foster her family as they search for Hachin's father, Hiroshi, and discover their freedom. Let me tell you, Michiko and Hachin, it's a very interesting story. If you like anything, if you want more stories about women and like animation, this is what you go to, because it not only just focuses on Michiko. Like during their run, we meet so many different other women along the way, and so many different other girls too, because Hachin's literally like 10 years old. And Michiko and Hachin, they do argue a lot. They tend to not get along, but they do form like a nice, cute little like sister bond, I'd say. Michiko never really learns much of anything. She's pretty hard-headed, but then you realize so much of the way she is has to do with her trauma. And there's even an entire episode that focused on this one woman who was like a stripper, and then there was another episode that had to do with this woman where like her husband was cheating on her and she was aware, but she wouldn't leave him. And then there was one with this little girl that worked in like a circus, and she was basically like being abused. It was pretty sad. So you want like interesting stories about like girls and women of color specifically in animation, I do recommend Michiko and Hachin. It's a beautiful tale. It has a really, really like the way it ends. It's like it ends like that. It's not like a happy ending, but like honestly, that's life. Also, no, it takes place in the 80s, so you wonder why it looks like that. That's why.
Cool.
Cool.
The last one we're going to go in depth on right now is Life Lessons with Uramichi Onisan, created by Gaku Kuze. And it was originally a manga that was serialized online. I think this is the only online one we're deep diving right now. That was in the digital magazine Comic Pool, which is, I think it's still running since 2017. And in 2021, there is a hilarious anime adaptation by Studio Blanc. So the story follows a 31-year-old named Uramichi Omota, and he's a former professional gymnast who now leads the exercise segment of a children's TV program called Together with Momocon. And you could liken it to like Barney or something in terms of programming, where they like have different figures, or maybe like Sesame Street or something, where they have figures teaching them different things. So there's like an instructor who does like singing, dancing, and then Uramichi is the gym instructor. But despite the very colorful facade and like visual style of the show and the setting, which is like a children's TV show, the main character basically has an existential crisis like every second of his life. And the whole series has a very dark and jaded sense of humor that kind of tackles like the existential dread of aging and how it feels to kind of just like chug along and do the same thing every day after you finish school or like any type of eventful young life experiences. So if you are a person who is done with college and is just, in the working force, then it's a very entertaining show that is very relatable and also painful.
Also, good note, if you like Abbott Elementary, I think you would.
Absolutely.
This show,
that makes a lot of sense.
This show had me thinking for a minute. I was like, But because you were talking about, you can say it's like seinen too.
Yeah,
I'm just I feel like the men are just way too attractive for it to be seinen. That's why it's so sad.
They're attractive and like they express their emotions, so I think that's why I say it would lead towards Josei versus the alternative.
Yeah, because I read seinen too, but I'm like, I don't really see more slice of life stories over there.
Yeah, for sure.
And there's like no fan service too, so
They're the rare anime. Honestly, I don't know that any of these have fan service in them.
I mean,
I'm not sure.
That's different. Okay, that's not really.
I don't want to this year.
Okay, cool. So there's a lowdown on a few different Josei series that we personally enjoy. They're not necessarily like the most definitive Josei. Google can help you with that, but here's some recommendations. So now I want to spend some time talking about why it matters to have a genre like this, and why it matters to not let it die. So in general, Josei is dying. That's why this panel is called The Death of Josei. Women are typically watching live action series or adaptations that are in the same vein as a Josei animated series, but they're just not animated. And that's probably because they're much more commonly produced than animated series, and the kind of like stigma of like adult females
Yeah.
and femmes and AFABs watching animation is like pretty strong. You know, there's a lot of like, you're just acting like a child, or
They act
you
like
have immature
clowns.
interests. Yeah, so I think that's definitely a significant part of the problem. And viewers and readers as well are gravitating towards other genres of manga and anime versus Josei, and I think there's a lot of different things we could get into about why that is, and we definitely can get into it. But you know, the general umbrella of that is probably just like the patriarchy, you know, and all the problems that are within that.
Yeah, I mentioned when I was on my friend's podcast a few days ago, I just said Josei, and they didn't know what I was talking about.
Wow.
Like at all. And they were like anime nerds.
Yeah.
I was like Josei, and I was like, you know what shonen is, right? They're like, yeah, we all know what shonen is. And I was like, well, Josei is like the anime demographic for like adult women, and they were like, I never heard of that. And I was like, yeah, that's a problem.
And it's one of the 4 genres, it says here. So in 2010, the most popular Josei magazine, which is called You, circulated 162,000 copies. And in comparison, Shonen Jump circulated 2.8 million copies. Yeah, the Seinen magazine circulated 768,000, and then the Shoujo one also circulated a similar number at 745K. So, yeah, I mean, it seems like just in general, young men, you know, who shonen is aimed at, and even other individuals who don't fall into like the basic shonen demographic are still consuming that media much more than they are consuming media about adults and adult women, you know, in particular, living their lives and having experiences. So, obviously, as we all know, because there's a very diverse room here in front of us, animation fans of all ages, all genders, all creeds, all colors exist, right? We all want to see stories about all of us. We want to feel represented in the media that we watch. But animated media is severely lacking stories about characters that are in their late teens and early 20s.
Yep.
And I think we could say that about Western cartoons, too. I mean, there's really only a handful of them that I could name, right?
And
Yeah.
like canceling them.
And they're canceling them, exactly.
There's HBO Max canceling them too.
I remember somebody was like, why y'all like Natalie from Miraculous so much? This is one of the few grown women in a cartoon we have.
Exactly.
And she has no kids. I'm like, we rarely see this. Let us have it.
Because we have to find and latch on to
Power
adult
Girls.
characters in, you know, media aimed at children. That's
Yeah.
typically what we got to do because there's not enough for aimed at us.
Yeah, because usually when you see like a woman in like a kid cartoon or whatnot, she has kids. Like she's a mother, and I'm like, okay, I want to see something else. Like that's why we like Miss Bellum so much. Child,
I love Miss
I love
Bellum.
her.
She's great.
Yeah, so I guess you could say like life after high school typically has like a very different range of problems and experiences, right? You're in high school for like a shoujo anime, you know, your stresses are like passing tests, being anxious around, you know, boys or girls, you know, whoever you're into, we don't care. And then when you're out of high school, it's like, oh, like, you know, if I don't like get a job and pay my rent, I'm gonna be like homeless and probably die in like a month.
Yeah.
So the risks of existence are much higher.
And it's like, we are grown. We're tired of stories about little kids.
At a certain point, although there are a lot of like cartoons about, you know, younger characters that I still very much cherish. Like I can't really relate to the life of a 14-year-old as much anymore when I'm like double that age or whatever, you know. So and then in comparison, seinen is often very like action or violence heavy, maybe not representing like emotions and, you know, thought processes as much as like just focusing on, you know, action and like cool stuff happening.
And I noticed like when I like really enjoy a seinen, it turns out that the seinen was made by a woman, and I was like, makes sense.
Like Witch Hat Atelier? Does that count?
Which had Atelier.
Atelier, I mean. Thank you.
I'm not familiar
I'm
with
not
that one.
familiar with that. I might know
It's
what it
pretty
looks like
good.
though.
It's a manga.
It's pretty
Okay.
good manga.
Oh.
I recommend it.
Yeah.
Cool. So obviously representation matters, right? I think both of us, you know, have made that apparent on our channels how much we care about this topic. And women in particular of all ages and races, you know, deserve to enjoy manga and anime, deserve to have content that is marketed to them that they can enjoy and watch. People want to see themselves in the series they watch. It's not that you have to be represented in something to be able to enjoy it, but it's just nice to know that like you as a person exist and like other types of people who are like you exist and you want to see yourself represented in that way. Most shoujo series tend to take the entire storyline to develop romance and depict very immature relationships. Like you'll watch like 12 episodes of Fluff and then they'll almost kiss and then the series will end and that's like the entire
annoying. It's so annoying. Like
It's so frustrating.
it is very frustrating. There's been so many good series that I've watched where I was like, oh, if you took out like 8 episodes of Fluff, this would have been way better. Like Blue Spring Ride. Has anyone seen that one? Our Ride. I love that series, and I love the manga too. I just read the manga this year, but there's so much Fluff. It made me so mad.
I'm so slow. The kind of person who cheats.
Yeah, the end result is adorable, right? But the bones of that story are really good. But if you take out the random fluff that happens for like 5 episodes in the anime, I think it would make its point a lot more succinctly.
So true.
Yeah. So Josei offers a rare look at like a more realistic and relatable depiction of adult life in animation, and I think even for younger viewers, it is valuable to see a picture of adult life that isn't so like dramatized and exaggerated and glamorized, which is a lot of kind of what's happening in the media about like 19-year-olds, I guess you could say, that's marketed to our teenagers, like Euphoria or something. Like they're not that high school's not like that, you know, like college isn't like that.
my high school was like Euphoria.
Are you serious?
I'm not even joking. I'm not joking. It was. Because people like, Euphoria fake. I was like, I hate to say it, I hope I sound ridiculous, but my high school experience was a lot like that. I wasn't going buck wild, but my classmates were, so.
Well, you get that, like Euphoria, Skins, you know, shows like that, or you get shows about like, you know, rich white people saying funny stuff. So.
Yeah. Like, I want more shows like The Office, but like more diverse.
Or Parks and Rec.
All we got is Abbott Elementary.
Yeah.
Which, if you haven't seen it, you have to watch that show right now.
Video game makers.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
All right. Cool. So a few recommendations before we do the like Q&A discussion part of the panel. If you like Josei, here's a few Western series that you might enjoy. We got Tuca and Birdie, which was created by. We still filming? Okay. We got Tuca and Birdie, which was created by Lisa Hannawalt, who played a big role in BoJack Horseman, if you saw that show. However, this is not really like BoJack Horseman. Tuca and Birdie is its own entity. It just kind of looks like it lives in the same universe, and it's about 2 women. I think they're in their early 30s. And it's kind of a slice of life thing again, where like every episode kind of tackles a problem that each of them are dealing with and how they get through it by supporting each other. And it's very funny, it's very feminist, it's got a fantastic sense of humor, and especially in the Adult Swim seasons for 2 and 3, they went off in the art, so it's just an absolute pleasure to watch. We also got the Looney Tunes show.
Yeah, okay, first of all, it's nothing like the original Looney Tunes show. It basically is like a sitcom, but it's the Looney Tunes characters, and they behave like people. And it's just like, you actually get to see, okay, they're getting on my nerves. Oh, okay, these people have a relationship with each other. Oh, these people are friends. Oh, these people are working on something together. It's just like, you know, shows about people just doing stuff.
Yep.
It's that, but it's the Looney Tunes characters.
Yeah. It's really fun to see them in a new context, and the characters you see on the screen with Daffy and Bugs are their girlfriends throughout most of the run.
If
so.
you like dry humor, you'll like that.
Yeah.
Yay.
And our last recommendation is Bee and Puppy Cat, which was based on an indie animated series that got picked up by Netflix. And while it's not a completely perfect adaptation of the indie series, it is another slice of life series about a adult woman, so I think, and it's very cute and cozy and comfy and has an absolutely gorgeous color scheme and, you know, art direction, so I think Josei fans would like that too.
I had mentioned something like on my, like I made like a YouTube short on my channel, like, can we have Magical Girl but for women? That's what that is. That's what that is.
Magical Girl college anime, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Magical woman, please. I'm grown.
The
I'm tired of stories about
College
little
Club.
girls.
Yep.
I'd say the College equivalent of Winx Club or which?
Those are kids.
Oh, that's my bad. I meant college equivalent.
Oh, okay.
That would be awesome.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't hear the first part.
I'm
Okay.
definitely interested in more college And we can start the discussion part, you know what? Okay, just want to say thank you guys for coming out. We can do the Q&A and discussion part now, so it's going to be a little bit more free form, and we can take questions and just kind of talk with you guys about Josei and what you want to see more of in animation. But first, I'm offbeat Kiki. All of my ads everywhere are offbeat Kiki. So if you like content about revisiting nostalgia without the rose-colored lenses and seeing how everything holds up, then check out my stuff. I also make gay and non-binary content because I'm queer, so I just make sure that's always included. And
Hi, I'm Ariana. Like I said, I like to make content based off nostalgia, family, and children's entertainment. All the issues I found in those spaces. That's what I do on my channel. But I do other things. Like, if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see more of my art, and you'll see a lot more of my cosplay. I also am in the process of making my comic and a comic dub that's going along with that. I'm very stressed out about it, but I'm very excited for that. And I also have a shop called HarryOnHook.com, and also have a blog on there too, where I just talk about my feelings. But yeah, I make fun, cute little nerdy stuff for black girls and everybody overall.
Nice.
But yeah, I make bonnets, cartoon bonnets and stuff. So yeah. I have more coming this summer. I have a homegirl bonnet coming. So if you like homegirl, I got that.
And they're in differing stages, but both of us are working on series aimed at kind of the Josei genre and demographic.
Yeah, I'm actually adapting a fic that I wrote into a comic and a comic dub. Mainly because the main reason I wrote that is because I was having a crisis because no one cares about Josei so much. And I was like, well, you wrote this for yourself and other people enjoy it. More people want to enjoy it. Get the word out about it. Make that. So you never know what your work can do for somebody. If you want to make something, share it, please. Someone else will appreciate it.
Yeah, and I'm working on a cartoon about a bunch of late teens, early 20-somethings dealing with their trauma and a fascist. So same genre. But I think now we want to open up to questions. So raise your hand if you have a question or if you want to discuss something, and then we can kick this off.
Okay, that's your hand first.
Cool.
Yeah, you had mentioned about romance specifically. I don't thinking about it. There's not a lot of stuff where it's kind of dealing with an established relationship. What do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, that's one of the things I loved about Nana so much is they get into their relationships or they're already pre-established in their relationships really early in the show. So instead of the constant will they won't they suffocating you the entire time we're watching, you get to actually see two adult people dealing with their relationships and juggling being cheated on and meeting new people and feeling torn between two people. And content like that feels a lot more representative of what it's like to deal with having a love life as an adult. So Nana would be my recommendation. Do you have one?
No, I was gonna mention Midnight Secretary. Okay, that's do you know what that is? Okay, it's a Josei manga that is about this woman who is you gonna look at me I understand why you like it now. It's about this woman that is the assistant of this boss man. And he's a vampire though. And they fall in love, but it is so messy though. And the entire story is just their relationship being a mess. But it's really interesting to see. But they get together early on in the story though. So I'm okay, because I can't stay at shoujo where it's it takes 30 episodes for even for them to hold hands. I'm I can't do this.
No.
But I can talk more about Midnight Secretary later. that's a truth.
Next question. The cool blue silver wig.
And then you next.
So I've watched Nana several times. It's been one of my favorites for a while. And I was back on an earlier point how you were saying the reasons for it dying out. I always thought that things were, however much you want to say, getting better to some extent. What do you think is the real main reason why the decline's been so drastic?
Because people think women and just people that ain't men don't like cartoons.
Yeah.
That's just so much of what that is. Because I feel when it comes to the subject of animation and just comics and all of that in general, you always kind of hear about men. When you look at the behind the scenes of animation and all that, you just see so many men. I go through the credits of a lot of my animated shows that I like and a lot of comics and stuff like that. A lot of those people are men and a few women sprinkled here and there. There's even communities online now about women that are involved with animation because if people just act we don't exist. Like if you even look at the statistics, because in my video I made about Rainbow High, I talked about how like the demographic for how many women work in animation and just like art in general, like comics and all that, it's very low. It's not even like 10%. And then with that being like women of color, it's even lower. So it's just kind of like, are like people thinking that we don't want these jobs, or are they just not giving them to us? Like, it's weird because I'm like, it's
even
just
now you think it'd be even marginally better.
yeah, it's misogyny.
Yeah.
For sure. I think there also, we also should mention, like, there certainly are Josei creators out there making manga, but the willingness of companies to invest in those women telling those stories about women is weaning. I mean, Tuca and Birdie got canceled. It just like unceremoniously got the axe when the HBO and Discovery merger happened, and like there was no, you know, consideration of like, you know, maybe this is a one worth keeping around, even though there was a huge backlash to it being canceled.
Like, honestly, that's what's been making me want to do better about not being so scared about putting my comic more out there. Because I've been promoting it at my table, too, like, with the little, like, photo cards I've been passing out. Because one of my friends was like, there are going to be other women that deeply appreciate your story. I think they would like it if you shared it.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, it's not really a question, it's more like, I guess, a discussion topic. So, I have a lot of friends. I collect manga. My fiance, all of us collect manga. And I find that one of the issues with getting them into, like, adult women-generated literature is that they don't know it exists because they find it, or people think that all, like, anything romance is shoujo.
Yeah.
They don't know that it's adult. But also, too, you don't know it's adult, you don't know where to find it. Because I'll bring it up to people and they're like, I didn't know this existed. And usually in order to get shows, you have to actually, you know, have that interest. Like, Love is Hard for Otaku is now an anime, but that's because a lot of people were buying it.
Yeah.
So, I guess, really, what do you guys think is, like, the best way to increase, like, people buying or even reading it? Because, you know, that's how it gets started.
I, like, as a fan of Josei, I kind of, like, try to do my part online and talking more about it. Because are you familiar with a company called Black Josei Press? Yeah. Well, basically, Black Josei Press is a Black and Latina-owned company based in here in the U.S. in New York. And they basically make, like, Josei mangas, but for, like, women and non-binary people of color. And their, like, bestseller, I think, so far has to be, like, Wash Day Diaries, which is about 4 different women and like their struggles like with life and all that, and their hair, and they're all Black, and one of the women is Afro-Latina, actual Afro-Latina, not what people be trying to say what that means, because you know people don't look their stuff up, but they have like so many like other stories like that, and it pisses me off because there's a video I made when I was mad at the end that so many people just don't know about any of this stuff. And I was like, I feel like we need to just talk more about it, because Black Josei Press only has 2,000 followers on Instagram. Like that, and I'm just like, I'm looking at all these other comic book companies and all of that, and they have much, much bigger followings. But I'm like, we finally have this one thing that Black women and non-binary people of color care about, and they just like, it's just kind of like, okay, no one's batting an eye at it. So like I said, as somebody that is a fan, I do feel like it's important to do our part and make sure we are posting about these things. Like, there's some more people I like. Their name is like Manga Brownies. I really like them. They're okay. Oh, we can. Okay.
I think both of us agree that indie is the way forward, because at this point, I mean, literally, I think like today or yesterday, Target pulled out a bunch of their like queer pride merch because the retail employees were getting threats. So like obviously companies are not going to be our allies, or you know, put interests that are not for white men typically, or you know, performative interests for a certain month of the year in their priority list. So what?
I have a question. I like some new.
Can I finish what I was saying first though?
Yeah.
Okay. So I last year started this collective of artists and content creators called Animation Appreciation Hub, and what I've been trying to put my free time into over there is platforming indie animators, and it's mostly Western indie animators right now. I would love to find some Eastern like manga and anime creators as well. But what we have been doing is like trying to put together events that platform these indie animated series so that we can get more eyes on them. In January, we put together a presentation night that I think it got like at least 10,000 views, where we showed off like 19 different animated series. And we just gave a lot of creators who had very small followings a chance to receive a lot more exposure. So that's what I've personally been doing to try to increase indie projects in general and drive indie forward from my small platform, I guess.
And like, it doesn't take much to just share a post on your Instagram page or just retweet the tweet. Like, it helps. Like,
Cool. Okay, what was your question?
I like supernatural anime, like say Noragami or Kami-sama Kiss. Was there any Josei recommendations for that?
I don't think I can help you with that
Oh,
because
okay.
most Josei, for the most part, is like I say, is a little bit more like slice of life or realistic. And Midnight Secretary is technically supernatural because they vampires, but you'll find like a lot of like vampire werewolf type stories over there. If you're into that.
Cool.
I gotta look a little bit more into that.
Cool.
aspect.
Thank you.
Ollie in the back. Yeah.
I always thought that the reason Josei is kind of dying is because women, at least, like, I don't know any other women.
I have that. Oh yeah, I have that. I watched it. It was really good.
Stuff like that versus men spend a lot of money on anime and figures and all that. So in my mind, I didn't think it was so much misogyny. I just thought it was because we as women are not spending enough money on it like the guys are.
Yeah.
I think women are discouraged from purchasing things that apply to their interests.
That's exactly what I was
Because
thinking.
it's filtered as like a shopping addiction versus like actually putting money into the things that they're interested in, whereas men can just, buy manga or whatever because they're dudes and they have stuff they like.
That's a good
Same with
thing,
video
too.
games.
It's seen as like, oh, you're shopping, you're spending money, unnecessary money.
Yeah.
But
You just bought a 10-foot figurine. Like, man. Like, oh, Kayla.
Oh, I also wanted to comment on that, how like what you were saying about shopping and indulging in our interests as women or femme-presenting people is seen as childish. I also feel like the stories that Josei tells, unfortunately, are also seen as childish or less important. Like, oh, a story about romance, a story about like just people hanging out. Like, oh, nobody wants to see that. That's boring. That's childish. And I'm like, I feel like that kind of contributed to the decline of Josei because people just want more. How do you say? Shonen has been really popular. Isekai has been really popular.
They want escapism.
Huh?
They want escapism. They don't wanna
Escapism.
see
That's the word I
reality.
was looking
Yeah.
for.
One reason why I'm able to, I think, like, why Ayazawa, I hope I said her name correctly, her stuff is, like, so popular is because it's realistic, but also, look at it. Like, it's
gorgeous.
Yeah, it looks, like, stunning. You can tell fashion is, like, a big part of it, because you even know, fashion is, like, a big part of my story. I was just talking to you about it earlier, because she's a part of it, by the way. She's helping me with it. But that's just, I noticed that is like the appeal of it. Because I hate to bring this show up again, but Euphoria, the story's honestly a bit boring. But look at it. It's stunning. You're going to remember what it looks like.
Visuals are better than the story. Yep.
Who was next? Okay, right here.
I also think it's kind of hard to support, like, for example, your favorite manga legally if a lot of companies are not translating them or they're, like, locked away digitally.
It's not accessible to pay for manga for most people because production, everyone has to get paid, right? And we're just not getting paid enough as human beings to support the things we like half the time.
Yeah, a lot of the Josei manga, they are like no longer in print. So I hate that I have to do this, but I kind of have no choice but to go on them sites that got them nasty ads on the side of them. And I can't say the exact word because PG, but I can't stand it. It's no longer in print because I went to because I enjoyed Midnight Secretary so much because it was just a mess. I went to go try to buy it and somebody's reselling their copy for almost $300.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't got that kind of money. Oh, it's in the back.
Yeah, it's kind of addressing previous comments about the people not spending enough on it. A large part of that is due to pay disparity between men and women.
Absolutely, you're correct.
But also, there are platforms now like Azuki. They offer a free trial. They feature a lot of indie artists from over in Japan. There's a lot of Japanese Josei in there, trans, non-binary stories. A lot of really good independent stuff there. There's also Denpa, who's actually here at this convention now. They publish, they're highly interested in Josei. The publisher used to be the publisher of Vertical, who also still does actually a fair amount of, not as much as they used to, but a fair amount of Josei. So there are still roots, and if you have the money to support them, you definitely should. It's not always possible. You don't always have a spare pocket change, but if you can, do, because that's what matters to any company is how much money they have.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank you for sharing those. That's awesome.
Capitalism ruined everything.
It is.
Yep.
Hi, okay, couple things, but first of all, also commenting on the merch thing, and then I'll get into my question, is I also noticed there's not as much merch in general for women.
For sure.
Especially for Josei. It's usually in the JoJo side.
That's interesting because there's a guy, his name's like Medium Mushroom. He actually made like Nana and Paradise Kiss merch because there wasn't any.
Yeah, which is weird because it's super popular. And that kind of leads into my second part, which is, I'm not sure if you covered this, but things like Orange High School Host Club or Maid Sama or recently Skip Beat. Yeah, they showed them, but they cut them off before we go from established relationship to now let's deal with the actual emotional trauma in it.
Totally. Yeah.
And I find those to be like transition stories. You know, you go from now that you've seen this is how real relationships have issues after the whole holding hands and kissing. Then you go to Josei and you're like, okay, let's see some real stuff. And it's like they purposely cut all the time anything to do after the whole we're a couple now is just gone.
I totally agree with you. Oran High School Host Club was like a fixation of mine for a while. I'm a huge fan. Made a whole video essay about it like a few years ago. But I totally agree. I think people are still begging for a season 2 of Oran High School Host Club where we actually get to see the relationships flourish instead of just cutting it off at that event where they finally get to it.
And I guess my actual question was, what do you think of like Skip Beat? Where would you put that?
That's Shoujo.
Well, they aren't together, and that's not the issue of the show. I mean, of the book, anyways.
Cause I've done like my research on Skip Beat. I haven't necessarily like watched or read it, but like a lot of like what I saw, what it was about, I was like, it's just kind of like given the typical elements that I would see in shoujo. I feel like if the characters were like a bit older though, like probably like in their 20s. Aren't they?
They are 20s.
They are 20s?
Yes.
Why are people saying they're
adults,
16?
And the issue is mostly childhood trauma.
Childhood trauma?
Yeah.
That's okay, because I noticed a lot of people tend to put Joseis that focus like a lot like Skip Beat into shoujo, because people were saying that Nana was shoujo, and I was like,
Yeah, that's why it was like that, because it's under shoujo, and the cover is all sparkly like shoujo. But inside it's like, oh yeah, so about the time I saw my friend died because of me, or about childhood trauma, or my mom doesn't love me, and you're like, what?
Honestly, it's giving babies first Josei.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I think that's a story where it's just like you don't know if you put it in the Josei category or shoujo, and 9 times out of 10, in order for it to sell more, they put it in shoujo.
Yeah, they did like severely cut out a lot of the harder hitting stuff when they added to their one season.
That's sad.
It also kind of feels like maybe there haven't been enough like really super popular Josei to define the genre and allow people to think of it as, you know, something that can concretely be categorized into in the first place.
Yeah, there hasn't, because there's a lot of people like me and Kiki can get up here and tell you about Josei, but like if you go out here and ask a whole bunch of these people on here, they're not even gonna know what that is. They'll probably just say like Nana or Paradise Kiss most likely, and that's it.
Voodoo, wherever. Or Chihaya Voodoo.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce it, but I'm gonna watch that one more.
Over here. Yes.
I actually have a recommendation for the person who wanted supernatural.
That's
Josei.
me.
Let's go.
It's called Bokura no Kaseki. And it's basically about this boy who believes that he is a past princess reincarnated.
All right.
And then he discovers that he can use magic. And then it goes like that.
Oh, that's so cool.
I actually haven't read it, but very trusted Twitter mutuals. Like,
Cool.
I have read some of it, and yeah, the issue is not the relationship in that. I mean, relationships relationships are an issue, but not romance.
Okay, have you noticed that more and more, like in seasonal animes, like they'll have like one or two Joseis, but it'll be like a fully male cast. Like I get it, but like it's like, well, I kind of wanna see about women.
I get that, because that's what I said about life lessons, and I was like, it's Josei because all the men are very attractive in it. But I was like, I get that, but it's like, I want more stories about women,
Even the female main character in Uramichi, like a lot of the, at least in the early episodes, like a lot of the stuff around her is kind of like jokes made at her expense about like she's been with her boyfriend for like 5 years and he won't propose to her, and she's like hyper fixated on getting married and stuff. We don't really get to know like a ton about her until later.
Yeah, you see more with her in the manga, and it's sad that the anime is not getting finished.
Yeah.
I can't recommend. I'm sorry.
No.
Okay. There's a seinen that I really like, cause like the main reason why I enjoy Josei so much is because I want more stories about adult women and like their struggles. It's a manga called Gangsta, and that story is wild, but that's my story right there. But one of the main characters' names is Alex, and the main reason why I enjoy her character so much is because I could relate a lot to her backstory and her trauma. I understood her character a lot more, and I was just like, why is her character like so well written? Turns out it's a seinen written by a woman.
Yay.
So sometimes if you can get lucky if you go to a seinen story and it's written by a woman and the female characters are portrayed well. So yeah, and the way they handle like very serious, sad topics when it comes to not just her, but the other guys that she's living with. It's like a mafia gangbanging story, but it's also like if you want stories about like real people and their emotions and everything like that, I recommend.
Any more questions? Or discussion topics?
Yeah. Hey, Greta.
Oh, yeah. I'm gonna ask. So, do you feel like a lot of stories about like younger women end up being cannibalized into the shoujo category anyway, even if they might fit better into josei?
Yeah, I honestly. It's just, I feel like when it comes to stories about just like coming of age and like romance and whatnot, it's just kind of seen as like childish. That's why I feel like that's why they just kind of throw it in the shoujo category. Because, I'm sorry.
No, even.
But like so much of the shoujo I like watched and read growing up, it had focused on like romance. And the reason why Ojamajo Doremi is my favorite, it's my favorite anime of all time. But the reason it's my favorite shoujo of all time is because it was about like girlhood and friendship. It was not necessarily really about relationships. This was about these little girls that were little witches and they were just trying to figure out things in the world. And then boys would come here and there and whatever, but that wasn't the main focus of the story. So it's just, there's nothing wrong with being interested in like romance stories and whatnot, but I can understand why people just get sick of them because it's very oversaturated when it comes to shoujo.
And there's a lot of bad ones too.
Yeah.
They have like a large demographic, so it's most likely very easy to get them produced. But I think this also kind of filters into potentially like I don't want to say demonization, but like delegitimization of interests of young women.
Yeah.
And so anything that seems like it could be, and shoujo in general, I think is like a little bit delegitimized and stigmatized within like the anime fandom in general, if you even want to call it that and put it all under one umbrella. So anything that like stars, a teenage girl, probably going to get lumped into that category, even if it is a little bit more of a grown-up story.
Yeah, because I've even noticed that because I don't know if people are still doing this, but there was a whole era on YouTube of just grown men making material that was made for like teenage girls and young women.
Yeah.
And it was just like, what are y'all gaining from this? It's obviously not made for you. Like,
That's just
Yeah, it is.
no, that whole era was wild, and then they got mad at us for calling it out. I'm like, oh, you had yours? Yeah.
Yeah, just two recommendations. I hate to identify her by her husband, but I can't remember her name right now. Hideaki Anno's wife. Yes. Enclosed Called Fat. Several other books, all extremely aimed at older female issues.
And what's it called again?
I really wish I knew his name.
can look it up.
Yes. Hideo Anno's wife, the guy who did Evangelion. His
Oh,
wife.
okay. That's cool.
She is a major mangaka who does adult female issues. I forgot the other part. But go check those out because they're wonderful.
Definitely. Thank you. Cool.
So, you know how I brought up how they keep making or like animating those Joseis that are mainly of men? Why don't we have figures for them? I hate that so much.
Oh, because they think women don't like that stuff.
Yeah,
like
because they're making figures for the ones that men are gonna.
You wanna know what's like a double standard? Cause you know how people be getting on like people that be collecting dolls. Y'all doing the same thing, collecting the figurines.
Yeah.
That's the exact same thing. You doing the same thing. You ain't much different. We part of the same coin. Okay.
Exactly. So much. They're so cute, kind of.
It's just like I said. I feel like times are changing, and we are seeing more people be like more open and accepting to like just people that ain't men that like nerdy things. Because like for the longest, when it comes to like just art in general, it's been very much misogynistic. Like most, if you look at like the writers' rooms, we already know like so many white people are in the writers' rooms, but like some of those people are just white men.
Yeah.
And then even when you like look at anime, we do see like there's a lot more women that are involved with like the production stuff over there. But it's sad because it's like shown in this, shown in that.
Yep.
Capitalism has no interest in catering to minorities. Is my thing.
Yeah, and then when they do, it's because
It's
of
performative.
yeah. Oh, is somebody else on again? I saw another one.
I think it was her. I mean, hers.
Yeah, over there.
I was just had a response to the person saying
Me.
oh, well, that one, and then I think you were saying that shoujo was like, well, people categorize if it's just romance to be shoujo. I feel like a lot of people don't know that it's literally just the magazines they come from. Like, there's horror shoujo, like psychological, this stuff fun. And I feel like people don't really care to branch out because they just associate, oh, well, girls like the romance, stuff like that.
Do they not know that there's romance shonen?
Yeah.
And it's really bad, too.
Yeah, like
It's horribly written. It makes me so sad.
don't tell me Miss Nagatoro.
No, oh my god, because I kind of like Nagatoro now.
No, we can talk later. We can talk later.
Any more questions?
Yes.
I remember that Cartoon Network tweet. That Cartoon Network said that.
Oh, I got on them bad about that.
Yeah, that young girls don't like animation.
Yes.
And that's why they were no longer going to make animation focused towards young girls.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up.
It's funny because
That's why we live in
the video that I posted this week where I just like ranked like Western cartoons into like anime demographics, I was like, there's a problem why we didn't name that much Josei. It's because y'all don't care about us. Y'all think we don't exist because you think we graduate for animation. And you want to know why we graduate from animation? Because you don't make anything for us.
Because we age out of it. Exactly.
Because you don't make anything
There's nothing for us.
Because I even noticed that, like, when it comes, like, I noticed this ever since I was little. I mainly like to watch stuff that's about, like, girls and women. Even when I would watch shows that are, like, you know, for, like, a boy audience, my favorite characters would always be the girls. Like, Starfire was my favorite in Teen Titans.
Mine too.
Number 5, and number 3 was my favorite in Kids Next Door. Like, it's always like that. My favorite characters are almost always girls. Like, Ty Lee from Avatar. That's my favorite.
And if
Love
you
the
keep
girls.
watching animation and you go with what is given to you, which is mostly children's stuff, then you just get made fun of for liking kids' cartoons. So
Yep.
it's like a never-ending vicious circle of doom, basically.
Well, it's also kind of like, it's funny to me that they use the term graduate because it's always like forcing maturity onto women.
Yeah.
But they never force the same standards
Definitely
onto
not,
men.
no.
Because it's like, oh, you're supposed to be worried about making your family and keeping the house and blah, 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 blah. It's
So
like,
you gotta learn to do all that stuff when you're a teenager. She's done tons of videos about adultification, which I experienced in my own life too.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's just ridiculous, especially that they use the term graduated.
For sure. Yeah. I think there was a question back there.
This is more just another recommendation. Also, the guy from earlier talking about Kiriaki Anno's wife, her name is Moyako Anno.
Okay.
Second recommendation is another mangaka. Her name is Kyoko Okazaki. In a lot of her works, there's like Helter Skelter, which I know is one of her figures. Also King. Her stuff is more, there's not really romance, but it's more viewing womanhood through this very abstract type lens. She's telling these more developed stories, just focus solely on those types of things. I guess, experiences to the point where they almost become a little bit psychological.
Oh, cool.
And it's like,
Oh, that reminds me. You know what I forgot to mention is Serial Experiments Lane.
Yes!
I love Lane! It's about a teenager, but I think it could definitely fit the interests of Josei viewers.
And like one thing, like I said, we encourage you guys to go out and like support Josei. We're just gonna let you know there's bad stuff in every anime manga demographic. You may find stuff that you don't like, but please don't let that discourage you from the demographic. Because recently I read You're My Pet and I don't know how I feel about that. Do y'all know what that is?
Just makes me go, yeah.
Does anybody know what that is? Okay, what's up?
Alright, I think we got like 2 minutes left, so maybe one more question and then we'll say bye-bye. If there are more questions. No?
Anybody got anything else to say?
Okay. Oh, did you wait? No? Okay. I guess we're done then. Alright, I'm offbeat Kiki. This is Ariana Hook. Thank you guys for coming.